The 2022 Masters is here. The best men's golfer from all around the world getting ready for the first major of the season at Augusta National. And we are getting you ready to make your wagers and set your fantasy lineups for the Masters. And we welcome you into Going for the Green. I'm your host, Sara Perlman, joined by, of course, Will Gray and Drew Dinsick. Will, Drew, I know you two are excited for this entire week. How are we doing?
Yeah, this is good. I mean, this is the week that you circle as a golf fan. You're back at Augusta National. The azaleas are blooming. The pimento cheese is in abundant supply. What's not to love?
Well, what's not to love is I've heard they've taken away the peach ice cream sandwiches.
They have.
Terrible decision by the.
It's causing a lot of drama.
Yeah, it's thrown off my entire handicap. Just taking a quick peruse through the groupings, and they have really backloaded Thursday. Basically, all the aces. Taking the stage in the afternoon on Thursday, which will make things interesting. But it's a great field. This is the best tournament of the year in golf, and honestly, one of the best. Makes this spring one of the best times of the year if you're a sports fan.
We're going to break down all of our best bets and so much more. We're not wasting any time here as we get ready for the Masters. Let's take a look, you guys, at the odds for some of the betting favorites for the 86th edition of the Masters. And as we get ready to take a look at some of the favorites, as we're showing Jon Rahm 12-1, Justin Thomas 13-1, Cam Smith 16-1. You actually could find Brooks Koepka and Morikawa at 20-1. So as we take a look at this list, you guys, and we'll get your opinions on that in a second, I am going to begin noting that Tiger Woods, who will be playing in the 86th edition of the Masters, is not on the favorites. You could find him at 80-1, 50-1, depending where you shop. PointsBet has the best number available. He's competing this week, and I begin with you here, Will. He hasn't competed in a regular PGA Tour event since tying for 38th at the 2020 Masters, which was in November, of course, because of COVID. There's props listed. Of course, you can find him in the outright market, as I mentioned. What do you think about him? Is he going to be able to walk this course, swing the club well? What are your expectations for Tiger Woods? Got to start there, Will.
Yeah, I would have given you 80-1 in January on him playing this tournament. It was probably going to be a fair number. So it's remarkable that we are having this discussion. It's remarkable that he's in the shape that he's in. Even going back to February when we last heard from him at the Genesis Invitational, he said, I'm making progress, but I'm not making it as quickly as I would have liked. The swing looks good. I mean, it's amazing. We're seeing him play these 9-hole practice rounds. We're getting peeks at him on the range, and he looks pretty good. And he just spoke to the media, and he hit the nail on the head for what we've all kind of been thinking. And he said, the issue is not going to be my golf swing. The issue is not playing the course. The issue is walking the course. He is in a specially designed shoe this week that he has not worn before. How his right leg is going to manage the ups and downs, of which there are many at Augusta National, is going to be a big key. Listen, he would not be playing in this tournament if he didn't think he could contend, if he didn't think he could win. He said as much in his press conference. We've seen him before say, I'm injured, I don't have it, I'm withdrawing. But every time he tees it up in this event, it's because he has a chance. He's never missed the cut at the Masters as a professional. You got to go back to 1996 as an amateur, the last time he missed the cut. So clearly his game, he thinks, is in a pretty good shape, and he thinks his body is in a place where he can sustain the day in and day out rigor that awaits. It's going to be a big question mark for me. I'm going to wonder how his body looks potentially on Saturday or Sunday versus the full fuel tank he's going to have on Thursday. But again, the fact that we're even talking about Tiger playing this week, given where he was 14 months ago, is nothing short of remarkable.
Now, I mentioned there's so many props available for Tiger to make the cut. He's -120. He has never missed the cut at Augusta. Do you have any thoughts on some of his props available, Drew?
Well, it's tough to price. If we're talking about coming up with a fair price, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is talk through the process of, of constructing a plus EV handicap here. It's very tough because we haven't seen him play golf in quite a while. But I can tell you from like the golf fan in me and from the, sort of the emotional side, it's tough not to be very excited to see him back in the mix here. I have personally, in my existence, there are two like epics of golf before Tiger and after Tiger. And basically I got into it right as he burst on the scene. I remember his first Masters 25 years ago. It was the first golf tournament I honestly cared about at all. And so to see him competing now on the 25th anniversary is awesome. And, you know, realistically, I think the expectations of him competing in this tournament are that he will be in the mix. And, you know, I don't think he would have shown up and pushed himself to be out there if it were not the case. And so, you know, sitting back, frankly, I make him a little bit better than even odds to make the cut here. And I think realistically, if you have an appetite to go after Tiger in terms of, you know, betting against the public, I would wait until later in the weekend. Once you get you know, some data on, you know, what does his form look like, once you get to put eyeballs on how he is, you know, how he has handled the first round of golf as he goes out for round two. And if you want to really take a swing at him, I would look more towards Saturday and Sunday than anything pre-flop.
Yeah, I'm with Drew. I think that the more you get into the weekend, that's where you're potentially going to be able to fade Tiger. It's interesting. We just saw, as Drew mentioned, the tee times are out. He's going to go off 10:34 on Thursday with Louis Oosthuizen and Joaquin Nieman. My first thought was I was very high on Joaquin Nieman. Not so much anymore because he's going to be dealing with the circus for the first 36 holes. But it does mean that Tiger gets a late tee time on Friday. So they're giving him a little bit of an extra, you know, a couple hours rest versus if you go late Thursday and early Friday. That was going to be a really tough turnaround. I still think, you know, you're paying a lot of juice at this point. If you can get an under 75.5 on his opening round score, he has only shot over 75 in the opening round once at the Masters. That was back in 2003. So if you go under 75.5 on Thursday, I think that's where you could potentially back Tiger. And then as you get into the weekend, if he does make the cut, that's where I'd probably look to go the other way.
Okay, yeah, he's down to 70-1 on PointsBet to be the outright winner of the 2022 Masters. I saw comments coming in live on the YouTube channel. People are, of course, rooting for Tiger Woods and the comeback yet again. But let's talk about some of the favorites that we did show to open the show. And that was, of course, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Cam Smith, guys like that, some of the favorites. You're thinking about Jon Rahm, who's now no longer world #1 golfer, but he's performed 4 straight top 10s at Augusta. Drew, I'll begin with you. Do any of the favorites stand out as you look at the outright market?
Well, you bring up a good point, which is that he has played well here before. And I think when, you know, among the handicapping community, there is a uniqueness about this tournament and about Augusta that is important to point out. And that is that course experience tends to matter. I mean, one of the reasons we would even give Tiger Woods the consideration of like winning this title would be because he has mastered this course particularly. This is the only major that they play on the same course every year. This is a course that has, you know, particularities and, you know, and specific, you know, nuances that experience helps you, you know, make shots and make birdies. And so I think realistically, the fact that a guy like Rahm has come in on the heels of some impressive performances here should give him the confidence that he needs to compete here. Now, I personally have not been impressed by his form this year in 2022 so far. His putting in particular does not look anywhere close to as confident as when he was rolling it in from 10, 20 feet at the US Open last year in his first ever major win. So I think honestly, the idea of Rahm competing and getting a top 10, I'm completely fine with. But I think his price has gotten a little bit ahead of where his current form would suggest. I make him about 7.5% chance to win this title. And so seeing our guys at PointsBet basically willing to take a bet on him by hanging him at a price that is best available is not surprising.
Yeah, Drew, I agree with you. I'm a little bit hesitant on Rahm. I actually think that this market should start with Justin Thomas. I think that you talk about the form that we have not seen from Rahm. We have seen it from JT. Maybe his price isn't quite where it would be if he had a win, but he's done everything but win in 2022. You remember, he was right in the mix last year at the Masters coming down the stretch. He's got a game that seems very well suited for Augusta National. It's 5 years and counting now. We're waiting on him to get that major #2. I think it could definitely come this week because his game, I would say overall, is just a little bit sharper over the last few weeks than Jon Rahm's is, even though both of them are clearly among the best in the field.
Well, that kind of leads me into the next thought here, Will. You want to find guys that are playing some of their best golf, and Scottie Schaffler certainly fits that script coming in here. Probably no other hotter golfer, a golfer as hot as him right now in the world. He's won 3 times in his last 5 starts. What do you make of him or some of the other players that are coming into form right now heading into Augusta?
Yeah, for Scheffler, we are channeling Anchorman. That escalated quickly. We went from no PGA Tour wins to #1 in the world in 6 weeks. I mean, this is crazy. Everyone knew that he had the ability and the skill to win multiple times in the PGA Tour, but he has just made up for lost time here in the last month and a half. I think for guys like Scheffler, Sam Burns, Cam Smith, those are the three names that are on my list that you have to go all the way back to 2006 to find the last time that a player won in his most recent start and then won the Masters, and that was Phil Mickelson. So it's very difficult to go and win and come in with all of that momentum and all of the good feelings after that victory and then keep it going at the Masters. Sam Burns in particular, it's amazing. He's making his Masters debut as the 11th ranked player in the world. You got to go back all the way to 1979, Fuzzy Zoeller, to find someone that won this tournament as a Masters rookie. So I do think that where there's going to be some value on some of the bigger names that we can talk about later in the show, I think we've gotten a little too short on guys like Scheffler, where it's understandable the public is going to be drawn to these guys after Scheffler in particular has won 3 times in the last 6 weeks. But I will be looking to go the other way potentially in some matchups.
True. Do you have similar thoughts when you look at some of the guys getting, a lot of action in the betting space, and rightfully so because of their recent form? You two typically like to fade some of these guys. Are you on the same page as well?
Yeah, I am with Scheffler. Scheffler, obviously, he's got 2 starts here, 2 top 20s. Congratulations. That's impressive. However, I certainly think the market is moved a little bit too aggressively on him. The other guy that you absolutely have to recognize that is he was the hot pick a couple of months ago, and his price reflects that, is Cam Smith. Cam Smith was at one point about 33 to 1. So again, in the same way that this is a unique tournament, futures and relatively high limits have been being taken in this market for a couple of weeks now. And so now the prices are reflecting some of these people's opinions, and Smith is one of those guys. I've seen people take him at 33 to 1. I've seen people take him at 27 to 1. Seeing him now at 16 to 1, you can't help but feel like, well, the best of the price is clearly gone there. If you have eyes really for anyone on this screen right now who's in the 20 to 1 range or shorter, because this field is so competitive, and because all of these guys realistically, have the goods to score on this course, I think your best price available is going to be in running on any of these players. I don't see anyone in this field going out of the gate and putting up a scorching hot score on Thursday and Friday and then running away and hiding from the field. This is going to be a tournament that is decided on Sunday. The way that they set this up, that's the way they want it to be. And so I think realistically, if you're looking at anyone sort of in the cream of the crop at the top of the board, I would wait and try to grab them in play.
Well, now I have to wait very anxiously to the end of the show to get your best bets, because I have no idea who you're picking in the outright market, and it's none of those favorites. For more golf betting coverage, be sure to tune in to Bet the Edge all season long. We're live at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, giving you all the actionable information you need to win big at Augusta and beyond. The Edge streams on our YouTube channel and wherever podcasts are found. Notah Begay, he's going to join us next to break down Tiger Woods and his return to the Masters right after this.
Welcome to NBC Sports EDGE, your one stop for everything fantasy, DFS, and more. Get up-to-date news and insights from our award-winning analysts. Looking to raise your game even more? NBC Sports EDGE Plus helps you level up with an array of premium tools and resources keeping you ahead of the pack. Learn more at NBCSportsEdge.com.
Welcome back into Going for the Green. We are now joined by an extremely special guest, Notah Begay. Notah, thanks for the time. I'm curious to get your opinion here, and from your perspective, when was the turning point over the last several months where you thought and you saw the possibility of Tiger maybe playing at Augusta? When did this become more of a reality?
Well, when I saw his performance at the PNC Championship, that's an NBC Sports event, and so I was covering it. Out of the 36 holes that he and Charlie played in the event, I was there for about 30 of them. And number one, it was great to catch up and see him and just talk about what's transpired since the accident. But secondly, it was great to see him out there with Charlie and really enjoying the game in a different sort of capacity. And third, I was extremely impressed with the way his body was moving. And how much pop he had in the bat still. I mean, he was still pumping it out there 300 plus on a couple occasions. And so I left there, headed back for Christmas break, kind of scratching my head going, maybe if X, Y, and Z fall into place, he's crazy enough to try it. And Augusta's done crazy things to people over the years. And Tiger, is in that same category.
I love this. What was some of your reactions so far to the practices that he's been putting in as we lead up to the event? And for those of us in the handicapping community, what are some things we should look out for when it comes to it's kind of signs that he may be competing this week?
Well, I mean, I would say with pretty close certainty that I think he's going to give it a run on Thursday. You know, everything leading up, the practice round last week, he's on the grounds early. You get on the grounds early so you can stretch out your practice windows. You don't have to play 18 holes on one day. He can, play 3 or 4 one day, 3 or 4 the next day, and then, a handful of holes on Wednesday, or however he decides to work that out for himself to sort of keep the stress off the leg. But, for bettors, when there was, just a rumor that he was going to play, the over and under on round 1 score was 76. And I was like, I'm under all day. I went underneath my mattress and I got the stash, and I went over to PointsBet and I put it on the under, because I don't think that, if he's in the kind of shape that I think he's in, and I've seen the pictures and the videos, and talked about, he's mentioned to me that he's feeling good, how he can shoot higher than 76.
Yeah, PointsBet I think has the best odds if you look at the outright market for Tiger to win. We'll get into that later throughout the show, but for what you're saying and looking at the under over for his scores, what are the realistic expectations you think for Tiger as he's making his return after such a gruesome injury now at Augusta? What should we expect?
Well, Tiger coined the phrase "second sucks" a long time ago, when he was a very young person, and made a lot of the old guard a little upset with that comment, namely Curtis Strange, which is a funny video to go back, because Curtis says, "Okay, you'll learn, that everybody takes time," and Tiger just kind of shattered Curtis's hopes of that. But Tiger doesn't show up unless he thinks he can win. Whether or not he realistically can, but he doesn't show up to a place going out there just to put on a show or make a statement. He wants to be on property because he feels like if things go in the right direction, that he can actually piece enough good golf together to win another Masters.
That makes total sense. And as I'm now synthesizing all this is the 25th anniversary of his first Masters win, which is absolutely mind-blowing that it's been 25 years. That was the first golf tournament I remember watching from wire to wire, and it was an absolutely incredible experience. So very cool that he'll be back in the mix as we're watching shot by shot, because nowadays, they basically let you follow the golfer of your choice, more or less, which is, and it's one of the best viewing experiences of any major, the Masters, that is. What should we be watching out for as Tiger is out there for some signs that he's potentially going to make a run and compete for a top 10 or even a title here?
Well, I mean, initially just, how many practice holes he does get in. You can't go off range sessions or anything like that. There's no other indicator of whether or not you can sustain what is required to play tournament golf at a course like Augusta, which is one of the top 3 hilliest courses that the players will see this year. So, I would have thought that the Open Championship was a way better fit to sort of do something like this. But again, the allure of Augusta National and the Masters has, just attracts players to come here and try things, under bad health or under questionable conditions. That it's just a special place.
Notah, before we let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know you'll be on coverage all week and leading up to the Masters and through the Masters. Who do you think could have a lot of success outside Tiger, if it may be, this weekend at Augusta?
Well, I'm looking, and my money's going on DJ in terms of that top tier betting. And then in that sort of second tier, Sam Burns, I think, is playing the best golf. Right there with Scottie Schaffler. I know Scottie's on a lot of people's radar. I'm also a probability kind of guy. I just don't think a player, except for Tiger Woods, can win 4 times in 6 weeks. It's just a hard ask. It's a tough ask.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate you joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Don't leave money on the table. No matter your sport, the Predictor app has got you covered. Tens of thousands in cash prizes up for grabs every week. And it's free to play. Download the NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet now.
Heard from Notah Begay. He likes Sam Burns and seems like DJ, so I might as well. We welcome you back into Going for the Green. We're now joined by head trader, our good friend, Jay Croucher from PointsBet. Certainly been some odds movements across the board, but in particular, the outright odds as I look now, Jay. So we're getting ready for Thursday for the Masters. Have you guys started to gain any liability on any golfer in particular?
Yeah, Tiger Woods, you heard of him? He's the biggest liability by far. He's 2.5 times our next biggest liability. So, yeah, it's all about Tiger. And look, unfortunately, from the bookmaker perspective, we often have to root against the best story. So we get to cheer against Leicester City winning the title. We get to cheer against Tiger Woods at the Masters. It's great. But, yeah, it starts and ends with Tiger. He will be our worst result, I think, ever in this tournament since I've been with PointsBet for the past 5 years.
70-1 to win. You guys have arguably the best odds, the longest odds. Do you feel pretty confident in hanging this number regardless? People are going to bet on him. You know, they want him to win for the story, for Tiger. Do you feel comfortable at this number with so much uncertainty surrounding him?
Not really. I mean, comfortable enough, but at the same time, you know, now we're out to 80-1 in that, you know, it is something of a marketing push that we are offering the best odds on Tiger Woods, but this is a real price. Like I would have thought, you know, 3-4 months ago, Tiger's odds to win the Masters would have been, you know, 5,000 to 1 or something. But, you know, this is a real price. If you look at, you know, the price on the exchange, that's basically what we're sitting around. So look, and, you know, it's been brought up that Tiger, I think he's such a competitor, so prideful that, you know, he's only going to play if he knows that he can play well. And so that is baked into the price a little bit. That's why he's not 200 to 1. And then also you look at the vision of him and it's hard not to get drawn in. So look, I don't think he's going to win the Masters, but at the same time, I don't think it's the craziest thing that would ever happen.
All right, Jay, we need to talk about the other 90 players in the field, at least for a little while. Interesting dynamic in the odds at PointsBet as I'm looking. There, you know, we're used to the Masters delivering an A-list name as a champion. You have your occasional Charles Schwartzels and Danny Willits, but for the most part, this is going to be a cream of the crop sort of winner. When you look at the odds, there's only one player between 25 to 1 and 50 to 1, and that's Will Zalatoris sitting at 35. I know you guys at this point late in the game, you're pricing based on where the money's coming from, but do you kind of sense that sort of dynamic where the market is saying, listen, one of these 10 to 12 guys is going to win, and then everyone after that, we're kind of jockeying for some long shot tickets or some top 10s?
Yeah, well, Zalatoris is actually our second biggest liability after Tiger, and it's a giant drop off, but he still is second. I think that, look, one thing is that he obviously finished second last year and he could have easily won. And as Drew mentioned before, experience is key at the Masters, you know, more so than other tournaments. So that definitely plays into it. That gives Zalatoris a fighting chance. His game should be well suited to Augusta as it was last year. And look, I think that, you know, with the way that experience does play into pricing the Masters, you're seeing guys like, say, Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson, who are much shorter here than they might be at other tournaments. So people are largely staying away from those guys and looking more, you know, at your Will Zalatorises, your Shane Lowrys, your Kevin Kisners, looking a bit further down the board outside of Tiger. But yeah, not as much activity at the top of the odds board. The one guy we have taken a bit of action on in the top 5 favorites is my guy, Cam Smith, at 16 to 1, where, you know, he is obviously in incredible form. He almost butchered the Players' Championship, but still was able to hold on and win. And his game should be very well suited to Augusta as well. So he's been the most popular bet of those top few guys.
Interesting. Can you talk me through real quick how you come up with the price for Rahm like 12 to 1? Because basically that's best available across the board, especially among sort of the sharper market making shops. Any interest in Rahm from the betting community, or, you know, you guys are comfortable just writing those tickets?
Not that much interest. He just doesn't win that many tournaments. So that's why the public, I think, is a little tired of backing him. And this is the biggest price you'll get on Rahm for a while. I think that there is perhaps a bit of a misconception about Rahm in terms of his dominance, in that, you know, he was going off at 5 to 1, 6 to 1 for tournaments at the end of last season, but those were much weaker fields. They were much smaller fields in some cases as well than the playoffs. So I think it probably skewed the perception. At the same time, we did think he was clearly the best golfer in the world. We still think he's the best golfer in the world, but I think the big thing here is that his form isn't pristine, while not terrible. It's not absolutely perfect. And then the other thing is just that the field is just so loaded for this tournament, which naturally drifts everyone's price.
Let's talk about Jordan Spieth for a second here. Last year, he came in, playing incredible golf. Not this time around, but his pricing certainly does not reflect his recent play. I think he's sitting around the 20-1 mark right now on PointsBet. Why are you rather hanging this number? Is it a lot of public attraction for Jordan Spieth to win at the Masters?
A little bit, and it ties into the DJ point and the Koepka point in that, when you have had previous success at the Masters, Spieth, it's a while ago since he won, but at the same time, he finished third last year? So, he does have some form. He's got some history here. And the thing about Augusta is that it does forgive driving accuracy, and Spieth can't hit a fairway to save his life anyway. So that is something that will play into his favor. And at the same time, he hasn't been great. I think it's 5 tournaments in a row where he's missed the top 25. But, he showed last year that there is still something there in the tank. He's not at the same level where, for a stage last year, he was entering tournaments as the second or third favorite, much further down the odds board this time. But I think that, if he does start hot, there will be, a plummet with his price and people will be getting in. And there is just something about the aura of Augusta that, when these star players, when they do start off well, that there is a sense that there is something propelling them, that there is something in the air. And so I think that people will back Spieth in play if he shows something early.
Will, is there anything in the air to intrigue you taking Jordan Spieth at 20-1?
In a word, no. I totally understand. There is the Augusta savant part of Jordan Spieth where he just steps on the ground and he becomes a different player, and we've seen that happen before. But I'm looking at these trends, and he is just not the same player that he was in the spring of 2021. He had one good round Sunday at the Valero, and everyone's like, okay, Jordan Spieth is back, everything's fine. And I'm not ready to necessarily erase the last 6 or 7 weeks where, as Jay said, the ball striking has not been there. The putts, especially from short range, have been a little wobbly. So Jordan Spieth, as we can get into a little later, definitely on my fade list for this week among the top names.
All right, Jay, as always, we appreciate you jumping on all of our shows. Best of luck at PointsBet for the Masters, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Get an edge this week with our exclusive Edge Driver betting tools. Dig into the numbers with any Edge Plus premium subscription, including course and tournament history data, strokes gained analytics, and so much more. Just use the promo code GOLF20 for 20% off any subscription. When we come back, we're going to dig into our favorite prop bets for this week at Augusta. Stay with us. Thanks for being with us here on Going for the Green. If you go on PointsBet right now, you guys, there are tons and tons of prop bets available. And of course, the outright odds, which we've taken a look at so far on the show. And I know both of you love to attack the top 10, top 20, even the head-to-head markets. So let's begin there, Will, and I'll start with you. You look at all the props available. What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I'm kind of drawn to the head-to-head market this week. Maybe that's just because of the sense of parity among the big names, but there are a couple of guys that I like that are sitting there at plus money against maybe a guy that I don't like as much. And I'll start there. We talked about Scottie Schaffler earlier. I'm going to be in a position where I'm fading the market on Schaffler. And so you can get Brooks Koepka at plus 120 against Scottie Schaffler. Koepka is definitely on my short list. He has had a very quiet but very successful spring, and we know what he does in the majors. You go back over the last 40 rounds played at all the majors, he is topping the list in terms of strokes gained. No one can touch him in terms of under par at the majors, including the Masters, where he's played well before. So Koepka is a guy I'm looking to back. Scheffler's a guy I'm looking to fade. I get plus money there. That's definitely one that has my attention. And another one that I sadly locked in before seeing this tee time release is Joaquin Nieman at minus 115 against the defending champ, Hideki Matsuyama. I don't love Nieman playing the first 2 rounds with Tiger. I think that's going to be something that he could struggle with just with the crowds and the spotlight. But there are a lot of big question marks to get about Hideki. He withdrew from the Players. He withdrew from Valero. The back is clearly an issue. I know he's going to try and give it a go as the defending champion, but I am not sure how much he has in the tank this week.
I'd like you to expand on that a little bit for our viewers and listeners. You talked about it on Bet the Edge, and we've discussed it now, the Tiger effect and how playing with them can affect their game. Why is that so crucial when you're looking into these kind of markets and whoever's in his group?
Yeah, I think that it is very literally a circus. And it's not only the guys that are in the group with him. A lot of times it's the guys that are playing in the group behind him or in front of him, because the crowds, we saw the picture of the crowds just on the first day on Monday. And that's a practice round. They're going to be 10, 12, 15 deep in and around this course, trying to move around, trying to get a glimpse of Tiger. So the guys that are playing with him are going to be dealing with this massive spotlight. It's already a high-pressure event. It's already one that they have circled. But for a guy like Nieman, who's relatively young, and I know he won Tiger's event, so there's a bit of a connection there, but I don't know how well equipped he is to handle it versus someone like Louis Oosthuizen, who I think can handle it with no problem just because he's been in that arena a lot before. But just the logistics of moving people around and the visuals of trying to pick your target with a sea of fans behind the greens, those are some real things that players in the past have talked about struggling with, both playing with and playing around Tiger.
Right. Such a good point. It's going to be madness around him. So certainly worth looking into when you're placing bets in the head-to-head market and who's grouped with him. What about you, Drew? I know that you also love the head-to-head markets. I've been on shows with you when you're watching golfers head-to-head coming down the stretch, and I see you looking up to your screen. So I know you love these markets more than anyone. What stands out?
I agree with the two looks that Will touched on. In addition to playing Koepka over, I like Koepka also over Rory McIlroy. Those two ended up in the same group last tee off together on Thursday. I have McIlroy as wildly overrated by the market right now. I mean, just in general, he has some ghosts at Augusta on top of the fact that I don't think he is performing as well as the market thinks from a statistical standpoint. So Koepka over McIlroy is one of my favorites. I took Morikawa over Victor Hovland. Hovland is a guy that I have rated somewhat low for Augusta, in part because his around the green is so problematic. It takes pretty impressive course management to do well here. It takes that you will be asked at least 2 or 3 times over the balance of this tournament to do something magical around the green from the sand, from a difficult lie. And Hovland has shown no ability to improve his game in those areas, and I think that could be a huge factor to keep him from reaching his potential at this tournament. So Morikawa over Hovland is a fun head-to-head. And then I took DJ over Justin Thomas as plus money as well. I think Dustin Johnson is primed for a huge tournament this week, and I think JT, although I agree in general with Will's spirit that he should be at the top of the board here in terms of fair price, I still think Dustin Johnson and his length at this course is going to be an absolute killer. They've made it that much easier for a player like Dustin Johnson to score on this course. And so I think realistically, he's going to be in the mix for a top 5. So the 3 head-to-heads I like: Brooks over McIlroy, Morikawa over Hovland, and DJ over JT.
Both of you have found really good prices and some plus money in these head-to-head markets. So kudos to you. I mentioned there's so many. So those are the head-to-heads. When we do these shows, and you guys, we've done them a lot together, I know both of you love the nationality market. So Will, I go back to you here to start again. What about that market? Have you placed any bets there?
Yeah, there are a couple of looks that I've targeted. One, of course, was my friend Joaquin Nieman. I was looking at him as in terms of top rest of the world. Again, this is a way to not necessarily arbitrage, but you can get different looks. Where if Nieman is plus 380 for a top 10, and you can get him plus 800 for top rest of the world, there's ways to be like, okay, if he's going to win this market, he's going to be in the mix for a top 5 or 10, and you can maybe get a better number on that. Another number that I do like is, and I believe that Drew is with me on this, is Thomas Pieters for top continental European. This is a thin market up at the top. Thomas Pieters is someone who fell off the map a couple years ago. He made the Ryder Cup team for Europe a few years back, finished T4 at this event in 2017, but he is back with a vengeance after winning earlier this year on the European Tour. He hits it a long way. I agree with Drew's point that this is going to continue to favor the Bombers, especially after they get the rain that is expected both Tuesday and into Wednesday. So Thomas Pieters at 10 or 11 to 1 for top continental European is definitely a look for me.
Love having a lot of questions and comments come in. We are going to get to the comments at the end of this block, but I know that people are tuning in and watching us. We want to make sure we're able to show from around the world. And Moon Monster, hello from England. Hi. I have no idea what time it is there, but I feel like it's later. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you're
Good evening.
Good evening. Santiago, Chile. Beautiful. I've always wanted to go there. Well, thanks for watching us from around the world. We are going to take your questions momentarily, but we are speaking of the nationality prop market.
Yeah.
People from around the world watching us, which is always incredible. So, Drew, your turn here. Let's hear it. Nationality prop market. What do you got?
Yeah. I loved the continental European pick on Thomas Pieters. I think Pieters is going to be in the mix for a top 20 here, and the fact that you can get him at 11-1 in that market is quite awesome. I mentioned Hovland's struggles. I mentioned Rahm not being quite up to form to be the such a prohibitive favorite there, that I think that does open the door for Pieters to bring in a huge price. And then similarly, I am surprised at the top of the market in the top Asian player pool here. Siwoo Kim would have been my short shot. He is at plus 250 right now. He is behind Hideki Matsuyama. He is tied with Sun Jae Im, and I think Siwoo Kim is absolutely on form right now. He's flying under the radar a little bit because it didn't quite work out to where he's getting the huge recognition, but he is playing very, very solid golf, and I think his game matches up well for this course. So Siwoo Kim, top Asian at plus 250, also on my card.
Okay, plus 250 there. Let's get to some questions, some fan questions. By the way, I know that the person in the chat from England said it was 5:30, so it is good evening. Good call, Drew. Jay Donis, let's get to this question. I'll go to both of you here. Opinion on Bryson DeChambeau and him playing this week at the Masters. Will, what do you think?
I still have a lot of question marks. I don't think that Bryson is fully healthy. He has said as much recently. I was surprised to see him add the Valero Texas Open last week. It shows that he feels like he needs to round into form, still dealing with, hand, wrist, hip. He's got a lot of things going on that continue to nag him, and especially the way that he wants to attack this course. It was only 18 months ago that he talked about this being a par 67. I think that may have caught the ire of the golfing gods. But Bryson, I need to see more out of him before I'm going to be back in a position to get a futures taken on him.
Drew, are you interested in fading or taking Bryson DeChambeau, regardless of going against, I think, doctor advice I was reading earlier today to play at Augusta?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that floated out there to make him look good, right? But no, I think ultimately that was an easy one to look for a fade on. The problem is they matched him up against very good golfers, so he is huge. You have to lay some pretty significant juice to go against him. Ultimately, does he play? Does he make the cut? Probably. Is he a complete afterthought on Saturday and Sunday, finishing in the kind of the 40 to 50 range? Yeah, that's kind of where I see this playing out. And the injury is a serious concern.
Okay, we have time for one more question as they're coming in here on the YouTube channel. Ooh, thoughts on Cantley. Drew, I'll begin with you on this one. Any opinion on him?
Yeah, can't. I've burned a lot of money backing Patrick Cantlay since his run at the end of last year. And so he and I are not on good terms. If he does well here and, it takes home a ship and I'm not involved, I'm going to be especially bitter. So I'm not a great person to answer this question. Me and Cantlay are on the outs right now.
Will, you're the guy here then, Patrick Cantlay. Do you have an opinion on him heading into the Masters?
I am ready to be heard again. Absolutely. This is something where I don't know if it's because he's not on Twitter, he doesn't get a lot of buzz, whatever. But yeah, this is if the market has shifted towards guys like Schaffler, it has created some equity on someone like Patrick Cantlay, who has been trading in that 20 to 22. He's back down to 20 now, in that range. It's still the same guy that won $15 million over Labor Day. He had a really good start to the year, and I'm particularly willing to burn the tape on his miscut at TPC Sawgrass. He got caught on the wrong side with the weather. That is not something that's really indicative of a lack of form. So, yes, I'm ready to go back in with Patrick Cantlay, and fingers crossed, Drew will be kicking himself for waiting it out.
Will's ready to get hurt again, and Drew, his heart is still broken, so he cannot place a bet on Patrick Cantlay. Thank you guys for, by the way, answering the questions, and to all of the individuals putting in the questions and comments. We have people from Shanghai in the chat now, so it's been awesome. We're going to have a lot more coming up on the show. Coming up next, by the way, NBC Sports Edge's very own Patrick McDonald. He's going to help us set our daily fantasy lineups next. In the meantime, Golf Channel is giving you an exclusive look at the greatest golfer of our generation this week, uncovering rarely before seen footage of Tiger Woods playing some of his first competitive golf at only 6 years old. So be sure to catch the whole story on golfchannel.com and live from the Masters this week. In the meantime, here is a quick sneak peek.
Hitting this 7-iron. His maximum distance is about 100 yards in the air with his 7-wood.
In the early 80s, there was quite a few entities that called and said, we'd like to have you and Tiger and Earl come out and play a match. Just wanted to share this amazing golfer that's only this big. Yeah, that's one. We're going to play 9 holes. It'll be Tiger,
and his dad, and Michelle Lyford, our 12-year-old here from the club.
I did not know that this match was being videotaped.
Oh, nice hit. Beautiful hit. Look at that.
That child prodigy, he kept on doing it. He really did follow through on this thing.
Oh, nice out. Yeah.
Safe to say I'll be locked in on golfchannel.com and on NBC and Golf Channel to see the rest of that. I'm a sucker for any Tiger footage, documentaries, and all that. Looks amazing. Nonetheless, it is Masters week, and we're excited to be breaking down the field and placing wagers and, of course, setting our fantasy lineups. So for assistance with our fantasy lineups, we now have Patrick McDonald joining the show. Patrick, how has your research been coming along so far this week as we get ready for the Masters?
Well, Sarah, hello from Washington, D.C. You know, it's not as sexy as Shanghai or England, but here I am, 12:40 local time. I'm sure it's the same for you guys. But, but it's been good doing some deep dives on Sandy Lyle, Larry Mize, the real top dogs this week. But, you know, as we said during the Players' Championship, weather is kind of going to be a factor once again. We've seen thunderstorms roll into the area, and that's going to affect the first round as well. And so groupings just came out, and I think those off early might get soft conditions, a bit more tame of winds. And so Shane Lowry is someone I'm targeting early at 50-1. He was T8 after the first round last year, T2 in 2016 after the first round. And over the past 3 months, this guy is a top 5 iron player in the world, top 10 par 4 scorer, top 10 at bogey avoidance. So he put together 4 rounds in the 60s recently at the Valspar Championship. So I like him to get off to a fast start here on Thursday as well.
I won't forget last year when you won your player to lead after the first round. I'm blanking which tournament it was, but nonetheless, I'll tail you on Shane Lowry 50-1. You've earned that right. But let's get into the fantasy space. That's where we want to get some insight. And the first thing that is probably the most obvious, I know people are looking when stacking their lineups, are value plays, guys that offer a lot of value this week. So I'll start with you, and then Will, you go ahead. Patrick, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't blame you for forgetting. There's just been so many first-round leader hits here. So, but it's value again. I'm going back to Shane Lowry. I don't want to be redundant, but at 8,800, I'm kind of planting my flag on the Lowry Island this week. And like I said, top 5 iron player, and he's getting more comfortable around Augusta National, which I think is key. He has back-to-back top 25 finishes, 2019 Open champion. So I really think Shane Lowry has a really great week at Augusta National.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit further down the salary list. I'm looking at Max Homa, who is someone that has really come along in the last couple of years. And I know he missed the cut in his Masters debut, but I think he did learn a lot of lessons from that start. And now all of a sudden he's in a position where he's just in a different place in his game. 4 straight stroke play results, T17 or better. I know he didn't have a great week at the match play, but that's a little bit of a different setup. So at 7,100, I really think that Max Homa is someone with the tee to green game and stats that he has had in the early part of 2022. That's someone that you can maybe potentially build some lineups around.
Okay, well, I'm coming back to you here. Max Homa, your value play 7,100. Who are you fading? Who are you not taking in the lineup?
Yeah, we've talked about this earlier, but I am off the Spieth bandwagon. I think that Jordan Spieth is priced too short in the futures market. He's priced too high in the DFS market at nearly 10,000. So I understand why he's there. He's had so much success. The Augusta lore is a significant part of his career, but I just don't think that the recent form is there right now. There's only so much that I want to rely on him just picking up magic from walking on the grounds. So if we're looking in the top tier, there's definitely some guys that I would be looking to take in and around that price range. Guys like Cantlay that we talked about. Xander Schauffele is really flying under the radar as well. So if you're looking for one or two from that A list, I'm definitely steering clear of Jordan Spieth.
I cannot believe he's priced close to 10,000 in the fantasy space. That is ridiculous. All right. What about you, Patrick? Who we fading?
Yeah, I'm going a different round. I'm not going to go to the top, but kind of in the mid 7,000 range is Corey Connors at $7,600. You look at some of the projections, he might touch 30% ownership in some of these contests. I don't think he's going to get there. We're still pretty far away, maybe mid 20s, but there's one rule in DFS, and it's always fade the cheap chalk, and that's Connors this week. And I understand he came in 3rd place at the match play, but outside of that, has he really been all too impressive? He missed a cut at Riviera, missed a cut at Torrey Pines. Those are courses that kind of have a bit of correlation to Augusta. I know he has great history here, but I'll easily pass on 30% Corey Connors at mid 7 figures.
I know people that play daily fantasy can relate. I'm not trying to tie for like 33rd place, which means I need a good sleeper pick that no one else is probably taking, Patrick. So pressure's on. Give me someone that offers value, but not everyone's taking.
I'm all in on Bobby McIntyre this week at $7,000. T12 in his debut last year, and he's played in 7 major championships, made the cut in each of them, 3 top 12 finishes. So he's fine on this stage. And some people suggest Augusta National is a left-hander's golf course. You look at Bubba, Mike Weir, Phil Mickelson, Anna Davis this past weekend. McIntyre certainly fits that bill. Coming off a T15 at Riviera, ball striking looks good. He took to these greens last year. So I love Bobby Mack at 7,000 this week.
I'm with you on that McIntyre play. I love the pedigree that he has early on in his career. 7 made cuts in 7 majors, like you said. That shows that he is not afraid of this stage. I'm going to go a little bit further down the price board with someone that we talked about earlier, and that's Thomas Pieters. I love the fact that, and you alluded to this, Patrick, that the weather's coming in. The course is going to play longer, especially on Thursday. I think it plays into the hands of some of the guys that can hit it longer, like Thomas Pieters. We saw 5 years ago when he finished T4 that year that Sergio and Justin Rose had their playoff. He can tame the greens and he can work his irons in and around Augusta National. And he's someone who maybe he doesn't have the cachet because he doesn't play a lot in the U.S., but he's played really well in recent months in Europe. Wouldn't surprise me to see him on the next European Ryder Cup team. But for this week, he's definitely someone that I'm looking at as a potential 5th or 6th slot in my roster.
Well, guys, thanks so much. After all of this information, I'm legitimately ready to put my fantasy lineup in right after we hop off air. Reminder, spring and Augusta go hand in hand, but the green jacket isn't the only prize to claim this season. The NHL and NBA playoffs are upon us. And if you're looking for an edge on the court or the ice, be sure to check out our Edge Plus subscription tools. They're packed with rankings, predictions, betting tools, so much more. Use the promo code GOLF20 and get 20% off any subscription. One final break. When we come back, Will, Drew, and Patrick are going to reveal their best bets for the Masters. Stay with us.
Welcome to NBC Sports EDGE, your one stop for everything fantasy, DFS, and more. Get up-to-date news and insights from our award-winning analysts. Looking to raise your game even more? NBC Sports EDGE Plus helps you level up with an array of premium tools and resources keeping you ahead of the pack. Learn more at NBCSportsEdge.com.
We appreciate you being with us on Going for the Green today. And it is time, you guys, to give the people what they want. That is our best bets for the Masters, the 86th edition. Let's start with the outright winner. We've talked a lot about the prop market, and we will get into that momentarily. But outright winner, I'll start with you here, Drew. Who do you think wins the 2022 Masters?
This is so tough. Best price, best player combination for me is Will Zalatoris. Shop around, try to get him in the 30s. But I think what we saw from him last year, getting second in his first ever attempt at this course, combined with the quality of shot making and approach we've seen from him leading up to this part of the season, I think the recipe is there for him to really explode. And I think if you can get him in the 30-1 range, you'll have a fun weekend.
Well, pressure's on.
I'm just marveling at the thought of having to care about every 4-footer that Will Zalatoris is about to hit for the next 4 days. That is troubling. I wish you well in that venture. I'm going to go another way. Xander Schauffele is someone that I've definitely thought about. He's probably going to be on my list. But if I have one, I'm going back to Patrick Cantlay. We talked about him a couple segments ago. But I really think he's not getting enough attention as the 5th-ranked player in the world, as someone who just ran through the playoffs last year, had a very strong start to 2022 with a bunch of top 10s. He's been in the mix in the majors before. He was right there in 2019, briefly held the lead down the stretch of the back nine when Tiger won. This is a course that I think will suit his tee to green game. And if the putter cooperates, I think that he's going to get a green jacket.
From Patrick Cantlay, we go to Patrick McDonald for his outright winner for the Masters. We got Zalatoris. Cantlay, what do you think?
Yeah, Will, I like the Cantlay pick, but I'm kind of in Drew's boat. I've lost so much money on that guy. I cannot go back to him. And so I'm going to Mr. Reliable in the majors. Brooks Koepka, 20-1. You look back since 2016, he's entered the final round with a chance to win in half the majors, 10 out of 20 within 4 strokes. So I don't want to overthink it. By all accounts, he is healthy. The metrics back it up. And, I think he's your Masters champion this week.
Okay, now it is time to reveal our favorite prop, the best prop you guys think is available right now on PointsBet for the Masters. Patrick, I will start with you here. What do you got?
I was going to go top Asian with Siwoo at plus 250, but I'll go a different route. And Shane Lowry, I think he has a real chance to win this week, but I'll go conservative, plus 130 for a top 20. And this guy is built for the stage with the weather kind of getting a bit squirrely. That should only play into his hands more. So I really like Shane Lowry this week. And let's go top 20 at plus 130.
Okay. Will?
I'm going for the hole-in-one market. It's a steep price for any ace, but I'm drilling it down. Any ace on the 16th hole, minus 125. They're going to set the pin in that bowl on Sunday. Everyone knows where it is. Everyone knows how it funnels down off the ridge. If there's going to be an ace this week, it's probably going to come on 16 over the weekend. All I need is one. Let's catch that one.
That's a super fun bet. I'm going to get involved with you, Will. Drew, bring us home. Let's close out the show with your favorite prop for this week at the Masters.
So I'm going to cover my my Zalatoris outright with the Zalatoris top 20 at even money. I think realistically that that is a very, very strong look for me. I think I currently think he ought to be in the top 10 in terms of odds for this tournament, and the fact you can get him even money top 20 is music to my ears.
Best of luck with all of your bets, you guys. I'll be tailing a ton of those. And thanks for everyone listening and watching and asking questions here on Going for the Green on the NBC Sports Edge YouTube channel. For Will, Patrick, Drew, our entire NBC Sports Edge crew, I'm Sara Perlman. Enjoy the Masters and best of luck with all of your wagers.